What's up, Cybonics, and welcome back to a special tutorial. Today we're exploring Ionic Identity Vault. This is a paid product from the Ionic company, is targeted towards enterprise customers and helps you to add really state-of-the-art security to all the data that you store in your application. So if you've developed Ionic application, if you are using a backend, you usually use something like local storage, Ionic storage, perhaps SQLite. But using these solutions is really critical in enterprise-grade applications, or basically everywhere where you store some tokens to your API or sensitive user data, because in some cases, with a lot of criminal energy, you can get to these stored values. And Ionic Identity Vault helps to protect all the data in your application by storing it in really the most secure places, automatically combined with an unlock mechanism that can use the biometric authentication or passcode. So it's like an all-in-one solution which combines like 12 different APIs in just one simple package. I was able to test Ionic Identity Vault as an Ionic community expert, so I got a license key, and I'm going to show you the different things that you can do with Ionic Identity Vault, how it works, how the flow of functionality is, and basically everything you need to know about it. If you or your company is serious about developing Ionic applications, you should also check out the Ionic Academy, which is my place to help you with everything Ionic, with in-depth video courses, quick wins, templates, a community for support questions, really everything developers need to build amazing Ionic applications. But for now, we're gonna dive into Ionic Identity Vault and see how cool it actually is. Alright, let's get into the usage of Ionic Identity Vault, but before we do that, I want to quickly show you the pricing, because yes, Identity Vault is something that you need to pay for, and actually it's quite costly. So it's more targeted towards enterprise, because it's not even included in the basic Ionic IO subscription. This is only for AppFlow. It is only included right here in the standard or enterprise. But there are other ways to get this as well. There's something about indies and startups. As far as I know, it's not included in this super cheap plan for indie makers, but it is included in the startup plan. So here you got AppFlow and all the other things, native solutions such as Identity Vault, Auth Connect, Secure Storage for $250 per month if you're not making $1 million in annual revenue. Also, there is the possibility to build your own plan, but it's not going to be a lot cheaper. So if you just want Identity Vault, it still starts at $1,000 per month. And also configuring all of this together will likely be a lot more pricey than just getting this. Anyway, we're not here to discuss the pricing of the different Ionic plans. We are here to use Identity Vault and see how we can benefit from it. So I created a blank new Ionic application and I did a few things. So let's run through them one by one. First of all, I created this blank application, and then I added a page for the login, for the dummy login, and another service. But this is just the basic. Then I ran the first Ionic build, so we can then afterwards also add the native platforms. I highly recommend that before you actually add the native platforms, you set up the right app ID inside your capacitor config JSON or TS file, because that's going to be used, and if you change it later, capacitor won't automatically update your app ID, and then you're going to have to go manually into the native project. Yeah, you can do that, but it's just do it up front. Then the most important part about Ionic AppFlow is this right here. So if you just run the install command, so anyone can run this, but it won't work, because you need this npm rc file which resolves the Ionic Enterprise packages. And if you never use this, you need to run Ionic Enterprise register in your project. Then you also, as far as I know, need to create one app in your Ionic dashboard. So I created already a few of them for testing cases. So I got my identity test, and then with the native plugin keys, you need to assign your native plugin keys to one of the applications. And that's what I did. I don't want to open that view to show you my native key, because I don't think I should leak that. So when you did this, you can finally install the enterprise package, and then there's just one more thing that you need to do up front. or maybe 2. So for the enterprise package to work, especially for Identity Vault, you need to get into the iOS app info plist and add these 2 lines, because Identity Vault under the hood will use biometric authentication, and therefore we need to set an NS Face ID usage description for iOS. So make sure you get that to your info plist. Once we get all of that in place, we're pretty much ready. At this point, I just want to show you the app routing, because I slightly changed this. So the initial empty path is showing our login page, and later we can get to a home page. Do I somewhere got this? Yes, there it is. That's what I prepared for you. So let's get into this. Let's start with the Auth Vault service, because in here we're gonna do all the interaction with Identity Vault. To begin with, maybe let's set up our vault. And this is gonna be the first interesting thing, because it's gonna be of the type vault, so the default Identity Vault, or it's gonna be of the type browser vault, because Ionic actually, since version 5 of Identity Vault, has a fallback for browser implementation, which means we can directly develop in here, although we don't have all the functionalities that we have inside a native application, but for testing, for working on this is pretty great. And to initialize this correctly, we need to set this, and we can do this in our constructor. So let's set our vault to capacitor get platform. This will get us the current platform, and if this is equal to web, so using the shorthand if else in here, if it is web, we're gonna set a new browser vault to our vault, and otherwise we're gonna use the default vault. Now this is red because we haven't passed a configuration to it. That actually looks pretty interesting. If you're using live reload, you get this nice little error here. That really looks like you're hacking iOS. Anyway, we need to pass a configuration, and that configuration is, well, maybe a bit intimidating, but let's go through all of this. So it's gonna be of the type Identity Vault config, and this is, I think, pretty much all there is. Let's dive into the typing. Okay, yeah, for Android there are a few more things here, but then we got lock after background key type. Yeah, not too many things. So most of this is actually in here. And then to make TypeScript happy, let's pass in our config to the creation of the vault. So then we already got this in place. That's cool. Please stay unlocked. Couldn't you please just stay unlocked? Okay, let's inspect our configuration. We first have a key which just identifies our vault, which also means you could have multiple keys and multiple vaults in or connected to your Ionic application. Then we got the type. This is interesting because this defines which types of device features are used to store. I don't know, this is used for which kind of storage mechanism you're using. So device security is recommended, is what we're using. Then you could also in memory, which would mean your data will only persist while the application is in memory. So basically you're not storing anything. You could also use custom passcode. User will set up custom passcode for the vault. Or you could use secure storage. Yeah, which automatically unlocked if your device is unlocked. But device security is actually recommended and it's the most secure form. Then we also got the device security type. This is more related to which mechanism is used to unlock the vault. So if you're using both, it will use the biometrics if available or a system passcode. And this could also be none, only biometrics or only passcode. But again, both would be recommended. Then we could set that after a number of milliseconds, the vault will automatically be locked, which is pretty cool. If you're putting your app in the background, automatically the vault is secured and no data can be accessed. Should clear vault after too many failed attempts is set to true, which basically means you're trying to unlock it, you enter the code, this many times wrong, then the vault is automatically cleared. So someone trying to get to your data, inserting your Face ID wrong 2 times, data will be cleared. And unlock vault unload, we can play around with this. Well, it means are you automatically showing the biometrics passcode thing when the vault needs to be unlocked or not unload. That's completely up to you. All right, because we also need to initialize a few other things in an asynchronous way, we're gonna add another function and call this from the constructor, because the constructor itself can't be asynchronous. That would actually be cool in the future, but I don't know, that would kind of wreck your whole project. Also, what we might need, because basically we're storing information in Identity Vault. Just like we would use Ionic storage, capacitor storage, local storage, anything, we need specific keys to later access that information. So I'm gonna put in 2 keys for my data and my token, and we will gonna see them actually in our application later as well. Okay, now I think we can continue with our initialize function. Also, I'm gonna keep track of the current state right now. This is basically keeping your data in memory. For now, I'm just gonna keeping if the vault is locked and a string of private data that we will be able to write and then read later on. And we're gonna interact with that state a bit later. For now, maybe we're gonna leave the init as it is and only add a few more functions. So what we need additionally are 2 functions to manually lock or unlock the vault. Calling unlock vault will bring up the authentication mechanism, whatever you specified. In our case, it will use the biometric stuff. And lock will simply put a lock on your vault and you can't access the data anymore. However, if you're keeping track of the state in memory, you also need to handle the cases. And therefore you can use the blocks like this dot vault on lock. Because when, for whatever reason, we are locking our vault, we might want to clear this so no data is leaking through. And at the same time, we also want to do something maybe on unlock as well. So in our case, in the unlock, we want to set our state unlocked to true. So if we are locked, we're going to set is locked to true. And we will also get rid of all private data that we might have had. Now the problem is that this doesn't run in the correct angular zone. So the documentation recommends to inject ng zone, and then simply wrap our call or our assignment right here in ng zone run. Same now in the other case that we want to unlock our vault. In that case, I'm just going to copy this over. I'm going to set this to false. But when we unlock the vault, what we want to do is we want to get the stored data for our private data. This might be whatever kind of token or information that is stored away in the vault. So we're going to use the API from the vault to get a value. And to use get value, we just need a key, which is in our case the data key. And we need to add the keyword async so we can actually use await. That's pretty much all we have to do. We're listening for the unlock with for the unlock and for the unlock events, and then we got the different functions right here. Now, additionally, in the beginning, we also want to check the current state of our lock, for which we can use this.vault is locked. So there are just a few functionalities: remove value, set custom passcode. Well, you can check this out in the documentation. Do I got this somewhere? That would be helpful, Simon. Yeah, of course I got this. So we got the vault preference here. Not too helpful. The vault configuration, they're just describing what we already had. Then we got the different classes right here and interfaces, and it's actually not too much of an API that you have to learn about, really. It's just a few functionalities. Now, finally, after all of this, we're pretty much ready, but let's add a few more functions. So one function for a fake login. So normally you will log into or against your API, your backend, you get back some kind of JSON web token, session key, whatever it might be in terms of information. Then you would put this information in your vault right after getting back that successful response from the API. So locking a JSON web token in there. There are actually also interceptors available with Ionic Vault that you can automatically use to add like the BIRA token in the header field of your HTTP codes. We're not going to do this because we're not using a real backend in here in this case, but just as an information that is also provided. Now, we also need a way in our app later to write our private data, and this is going to be using the setValue function. So we had getValue, now we got setValue. It's really pretty easy to use Identity Vault. And at the same time, we are also setting this to our current state or current session, whatever you might call it, to have the data right here in memory and easily accessible. Now, what we can do as well is check if the vault is empty. This is even possible without actually unlocking the vault, which means you can do this on, for example, the login page. You check if there are some values in the vault, which means, okay, the user might have a JSON web token. So if you can directly skip the login and bring the user to an inside page. And we're going to do a somewhat similar functionality in our application. Finally, let's also add a logout, because on logout, we want to basically clear the vault. We don't want to keep any kind of data in the vault after a real logout. And we're going to navigate back to our initial page using the Ionic nav controller. So let's quickly inject it. There we go, nav controller. All right, so this will really clear all the data. Great, we haven't made any progress on the application after 50 minutes. My watch time is gonna go down on YouTube, but I really don't care because I wanna show you the functionality. So, device once again disconnected, perfect. I really love it when everything works that great. Anyhow, let's dive into the login page. On the login page, we won't really perform any kind of login. I'm just gonna add something like state, you got an email password, and then you get a pretty easy login on the login page. So let's put in two fields, an input field for the email, for the password, and then perhaps a login. So for the login, we now just need to use our authentication vault service, and we call the login function. So normally, again, API call, get back the data, and then you store it locally. It's not like Identity Vault is doing any kind of user login or authentication. That was my initial assumption. That is more like Auth Connect, a different plugin. But this is really just about securing the data that you want to have or keep on the device. So let's save this and let's check this out. So we can now actually use this in our browser. I can hit the login and oh, that looks interesting. So we're doing definitely something wrong in here. Where did we go wrong along the way? Most likely actually don't know, because we got the browser vault configuration. If the get platform is web, we should have the web implementation. What's wrong with you, my friend? At least we see this error or warning message, but upon login, I still get this from the auth vault service 56. So on unlock. Well, I didn't even know on unlock was called on the browser. On unlock, is that really the case? I didn't know. Let's try again. Crazy, that is actually called, and it's called a lot of times. So that's definitely not a good idea. Let me quickly check this. Well, anyhow, for now, we're just gonna leave it like it is, because we are actually able to get to that page by simply navigating forward after the login. So anyway, on the web, as I said, this is just a fallback implementation, so I'm really not sure if we would see that error on a real device as well, because I haven't really seen it before. So we're gonna leave it like it is. More interesting now is the usage on our homepage. So let's go to the homepage and let's define a few things. So first of all, we're gonna define an input and then a state. And this state will simply come directly from our authentication service. There is the state. So whenever we change something here related to the state, like the private data, the changes would be reflected in here if we use the state as well. Besides that, I'm just gonna add a few functions that will only use our service, like lockout, using the lockout, save our private data to set the data that we added to some kind of input, and then a manual function to lock and unlock the vault. That's just more for testing in our case, but well, it might be helpful. So let's move to the home page and let's do this maybe side by side. To the header, I want to add another button so we can actually log out. And then I'm gonna add 2 buttons to the Ion content. Oops, interesting, yeah. So the first button will unlock the vault. Oh, now we're back here. Let's do this again. The first button will unlock the vault if our state is currently locked. The second button is simply to lock the vault if it is unlocked. So it's just showing one of these buttons at a time. Now, if the vault is actually unlocked, we're gonna display a little item so we can input some data and save that, and a card with the current data right here. So inside the browser is really not that interesting. We can unlock the vault and we can see the data, set some private stuff. I'm gonna save this. It will appear down here. I don't know, it triggers on unlock the whole time. Definitely doesn't feel right to me. And on the browser, you could also now check this out right here in the session storage. There we see com-didactic my vault data. That is actually exactly the key that we specified here for the Identity Vault configuration. So it's not my application key, it's this key. And then we can see some private stuff and my token, which we've written to the storage after a successful login. Now, if I go to a lock vault, it will lock the vault in our case, but again, on the browser, this is really not super helpful. So instead, let's try and look how this application really looks and behaves on a real device. All right, so here's the app with live reload on my device. Let's try to do a login first, and it will ask for Face ID. The reason is, after a login, we want to write data. Right at this point, where's our login function? There we go. So at this point, we're trying to set value to vault. And if the vault isn't unlocked, it will ask for permission. Now, I also got some data from a previous test in here. So let's do something else. I'm gonna write this save data, and then it's displaying our data in here. Now let's try this. I can now manually lock the vault, and if I want to unlock the vault, it will automatically ask for Face ID, and then I get this again. Now this is just the manual lock unlock stuff, but this also works automatically. So if I put my app to the background and wait for about 1-2 seconds, go back, the app is locked. That's pretty cool, and it happens because I set the lock after backgrounded to 1 second. So now I need to do the unlock again, and then I would be able to access my data. Now, to get even more out of your security, you can do something that will actually hide this screenshot in here. So iOS will automatically show the last screenshot. On Android, it will show, I think, usually also a screenshot, but you can prevent this. And we can do this now inside our init function. So let's do this right now and access the device. So this is not from capacitor, this device variable. This is now actually also from Identity Vault. And there are a few functionalities that we can use, like we could manually show the biometric prompt and different things. And what we want to set is we want to set hide screen on background to true. Now, what this does is pretty easy to show. Okay, now it finally works. I don't know if I had to use a wait. And there we go. As you can see, it's just showing the splash screen instead. I can go back to the data, to the application, but if I put it there, interesting. It looks like it's sometimes working and sometimes not, but I've seen this work consistently. And it's also somehow not getting my data back right now, so I should definitely reload the application, and after login, yeah, everything's back here. So don't use this with live reload too much, and try the application really on a real device built from Xcode or Android Studio. But there's one final thing that I wanted to show you, and that is right now we do have the information. So you might have a token stored, and the user kills the application, and we're back on the login screen. So now we can actually check if there is some kind of data, and we're going to do this on our login page. So on the login page, we're going to add this little functionality here. The Ion view will enter. So if the vault isn't empty, so we check if it is empty. There was previously a different function that we could use. Now it's called isEmpty. So you might see something else in the docs. If it is not empty, we're gonna try to unlock the vault and navigate the user directly forward to our home screen. Because if this works out, we can directly access the token. So let's give this a try now. I'm gonna kill the application. I'm gonna do it again. And voila, we're directly logged in, and that is pretty cool. Finally, I think we need to use the logout, which will clear our information. So if I now go back and log in again, we will set this token again, but we won't have this information because it was cleared. Perhaps there's some kind of session data that you usually need while running your application, but when the user logs out, you want to completely clear that information, and we're doing this right now with this.vault.clear. So now our application is pretty secure. It will automatically usually show a splash screen when going to background. It will automatically lock the vault after like being for 1 or 2 seconds in the background. There we go, it is locked. You could also do the manual unlock lock thing that we did in here, but most of the time I guess this won't be required. And with that, I think we've explored all of the basic functionalities for Ionic Vault in this little tutorial. Alright, and that's it for today's tutorial. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did so, please leave a like and hit the subscribe button. And of course, let me know what you think about Identity Vault. Did you already use it in one of your company's applications? I feel like it is really a great way to make sure that your data, your API data, everything your user is doing in your application is at the best possible security level. Because to be honest, I haven't thought about this too much in the past. I use Ionic storage or local storage or SQLite to store this and that. But really, if you work on enterprise data, if you have critical information that you need to store, using a solution like Ionic Identity Vault is really the best idea, no matter what the price tag on this plugin is. Give it a try. You can actually test the things for 14 days, as far as I know. Once again, there are different versions for a community or a startup plan, so perhaps there's something for you in it as well. I hope you can build some amazing, secure applications with Ionic Identity Vault, and I will catch you next time, like always. So, happy coding, Sion.